Okay, guys, well, welcome and thank you so much for coming today. As you know, we've been doing a cultural series this year in the Vine, which has been quite exciting. And this month has been German Heritage Month. And we have three amazing people that are going to join us today. Uli Schmid-Maybach, Anabel Ternès, and Yasmine, and I'm gonna totally butcher pronouncing your last name. Yasmine, how do I say your last name?
It's Mam it's Mammoutier. Mammoutier.
See if you guys can forgive me on that one. That one's a tough one.
No,
So,
don't.
but yeah,
Montpellier.
so we're really excited. And the purpose of today is really just to learn about the culture and heritage of Germany, what these amazing entrepreneurs are doing and family offices, and to kind of explore. And hopefully, you guys can visit Germany one day and after the session be excited to go. So, I want to start with Uli. Hi, Uli.
Hi, Adria. Hi, everybody.
So Uli's a dear friend. We've known each other now for I don't know how many years. Seven? Six? It's a
Some number of
while.
years, yeah.
I'll introduce Uli for those who don't know him. I know a lot of our Vine members kind of know each other from all around the world, but now we're on YouTube. So for our viewers, so Uli is a fourth generation descendant of the Maybach family. He carries forward a legacy of innovation and engineering and excellence. He's the co-founder of Maybach Icons of Luxury and founder of the Maybach Foundations, which promotes mentorship as a catalyst for social and economic impact. Uli has led initiatives across business, technology, investment, including the IPO of Maybach Motorworks, and is a frequent speaker on legacy brands and multi-generational wealth. So, thank you so much for joining us. And I'd love to explore your life journey, which has been quite
Mm.
amazing. And if we could go back a little bit, maybe. I'd love to learn about, what it was like growing up in your family, where you grew up, and a little bit about your childhood and background.
So in Germany, I would say Maybach. Here in the United States, I would say Maybach just because it's saying the ach in the back of your throat is a difficult thing for some cultures to do. So we will use that word interchangeably. You're asking about my youth and my upbringing and so forth. As my German parents uh, emigrated from Germany and brought with them, the very German values of hard work, piety, and I would say a certain level of understatement. We're probably in large part, but I would say, fairly normal and immigrant experience here in the United States that so many people experience these days in the melting pot that the United States is. Um, I think in terms of my connection with the family legacy, there are two different stories in a way. One is about cars and luxury, and the other one is about innovation, and it has a whole different sort of meaning, a deeper meaning. It's a little bit like the Virgil Abloh tourists and purists approach, which has become more relevant to the brand itself because of the collaboration that Mercedes Maybach automotive brand did with Virgil, coming out with a special edition of that, which brought really, I found that collaboration so interesting because of that approach about the tourists and purists and those people who know and those people who follow. Uh, I think that's something that you become aware of early on, even if you don't put a name on to it, and then some iconic figure steps up, gives it a name, and then there you have it.
Would you mind telling us a bit about the founder of Maybach and your family?
The
If you,
founder
yeah,
of the humble origins.
yeah.
My great grandfather was an orphan in the mid 1800s, one of five boys. His father, his mother died of tuberculosis. His father drowned in a nearby lake. And so the five boys, all under 10 years of age, were kind of on their own. And he went into a progressive orphanage called the Buddha House, which is a kind of a Catholic, quasi Catholic diocese. No, in Germany, you would say it's what is it called? Diaconie, not a diocese, a diaconie, which was an offshoot of the church that was so German that it sort of bent religion to incorporate work as part of humanity's goal while being on the planet. And the Catholic Church didn't like that and ejected this guy. Gustav Werner was his name. And he went on anyway to do his work, and he founded this orphanage, which is still in existence today, which is really interesting, and also supported as a diaconie in Germany would be supported by the state. And today, I believe they still feed 3,000 or 4,000 people every day, mostly in the elder space, incapacitated elder space. That they go out deliver food to 4,000 people every day. They give jobs to people who aren't really able to work so well. And so it's an institution that's been around for a long time, is what I'm saying. And in that place, he met Gottlieb Daimler. And Daimler was a highly educated engineer at the time who wanted to do some philanthropic work before he went on into his other work. And he was here in this place realizing that nobody knew anything about engineering, but there's this one kid who knew how to sketch. And that was the beginning of my great-grandfather's work with Gottlieb Daimler and the realization of his skill and his gift, and his then going on to design the first high-speed internal combustion engine, and then putting that into a cycle and inventing the first motorcycle and motorizing the first boat, and then ultimately the first Mercedes in 1901, which we know of as the first modern car. He had a son, Carl, one of 4 kids, who also went on to be an engineer, built engines for the Zeppelins, and afterwards was, I would say, largely responsible for disrupting what had been coal and steam powered engines for the German railways with diesel electro engines that basically doubled the speed of trains at the time. And then going also to build engines for large boats, and then the Maybach cars, the late 19 teens and the 1920s and 30s, that almost happened by accident, which is kind of one of these like law of unintended consequences of getting an engine order back from an OEM and then not knowing what to do with them and saying, well, let's just build cars around these and let's make the nicest cars we can. These engines were built on high precision performance, power systems, and that's why these cars were of such high value and performance at that time, by building these beautiful vehicles around them. So that's sort of the history there. The car, the modern Mercedes Maybach that we know today, that came out as a concept car, I think in 1997, 1998, was really a different part of Mercedes. And it's almost as if one side didn't always know what the other side's doing. You're doing this sort of luxury vehicle branding, and then you're also providing power systems for everything from, huge earth-moving equipment to, marine, to power generation, to all these things that really Maybach Motorworks had become. That company did not produce cars after the war, after World War II. So there's really a more complex corporate history going on there. And we were, I would say, quite happy just functioning with that, should I say, single asset company environment. But I should say Mercedes, I don't want to say made us an offer that you can't refuse, but at the same time, we took the company public in 2007. It was hugely successful IPO before the curtains came down. I think we were pretty much the last ones to get this done before the recession hit, and so the timing was very good for us on that, and that's where that inflection point came, and we really transitioned to a family office environment, charitable component, investment component. And I would say the third leg of the chair was maintaining a really strong relationship with Mercedes and the rebuilding of the brand itself, which then led to my carving out the non-automotive branded rights to Maybach. We're busy opening these really all over the world, strong points in the Middle East, India, Europe, and we're hope to do something here in the United States this year. So that's been a very, just say, busy effort in that space, and still maintaining a really close working relationship with the automotive side of things.
That's amazing. I have a couple more questions, and then we have a couple other friends from Germany today that are going to share. And at the end of the call, we'll break out into some breakout rooms so you can get to know some people one-on-one. But compared to previous generations in your family, what would you define success today? What does that mean to you?
We're opening a small Schaudepot museum in my grandfather's hometown, Friedrichshafen, on the Lake of Constance, which will happen on May 21st. And I'm super excited about that. And we've also had a commitment to promoting and promulgating mentoring as a means to social and economic good over the years. Those are the two components there. And then there's one other thing I'm doing here locally that Adria is kind of inspired by you a little bit. From your community building point of view, I just started a Stammtisch here in San Francisco for the German-speaking community and culture and tech, and we're having our first one next week. Like, think about 8 people, and I sort of cut it off at that level, just with no particular agenda in mind, just to have the German community get together and chat. And, just to highlight, Germans like to be the best at everything. And they, you talk to a German in German, and he'll talk to you back in English if he knows that you're English, and he won't speak German, or she won't speak German anymore. And so I think this is sort of my effort to kind of Americanize the German community a little bit here to some of these other cultural. I'm going to excuse myself for a second, and I'm going to go get my keys. Okay, so you go.
No worries, no worries.
Okay,
No,
I'll be
thank
right
you,
back.
Uli. So I was about to tell Uli, my grandfather actually founded the Deutsche Verein in the Midwest, which is the German society. And so he was a community builder as well, like Uli. And now I'm doing the same, much of the same. So I would like to welcome our next guest, now that Uli's getting his tea. Yasmine, if you'd like to share, I'd love to have you go next. So Yasmine and I were introduced recently through Christian Schmidt, and we've become fast friends, deeply inspired by her work in social impact and architecture. So she's an award-winning architect and CEO of the Year in 2024 in Architecture and Design London, known for her pioneering work in regenerative multisensory design with a global practice spanning London, Milan, and beyond. Her work ranges from luxury hospitality and yachts to aviation and mixed-use developments across Europe, the US, and Asia. She integrates over 400 sustainable materials into her projects, blending out scent and design to create immersive, future-forward environments. She also teaches at leading institutions and mentors at the Royal College of Art, and as a speaker at the World Economic Forum. So thank you so much, Yasmine, and she has a presentation for us as well. So go ahead and get you set up with that. So welcome, Yasmine. Thank you so much for joining us today. You have to unmute yourself. You're muted. And Uli, I was telling everybody when you went to get your tea, my grandfather founded the Deutsche Verein in the Midwest.
The which?
The Deutsche Verein. It's the German society.
Deutsche Verein. Did he really? So it runs in your runs in your blood, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, Yasmine, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. So to the subject, which is close to my heart about design, architecture, history, talking about the German heritage. I think, Germany has been known for precision. If you look at all the design, I went too fast. The Bauhaus is like probably one of the examples of, German design when we think back, and precision and an era which is very much on excellency. I mean, like in the car industry, in architecture, it used to be the same. What I find very interesting is if it's about asking yourself the questions, respecting the heritage, but going into the future, which is always what I, do in my work, and understanding it's not just about the spaces, the architecture we do, but also the materiality and what are materials made of, and how do they make us feel? How do they take over in in the whole context of the climate discussion and toxicity? And there's many things we're not aware of, and I'm trying to uncover a bit as one subject that maybe is not so known in general. So you can always, Adria, interrupt me when I talk about it, but I'm talking about the precision, the discipline, and also longevity. For me, everything we do has to do with longevity. And I think if you look in the past of German design, it was about longevity, about products that outperform many other products in the world. But it has shifted now, and the world is so much more global, and innovation can come from many different countries in the world. But I think what occupies me is how do we define the built environment today, and what do we have to change? Where do we see the problems, and what have we mastered and what haven't we mastered? And I think the most important is the shift from the materials that we built with. So in a lot of my talks around the world, I talk about that we have to change the way we build and replace harmful building materials by healthy ones. And there's usually not a lot of knowledge about what is it really what we can do. I will talk a little later about some of the most harmful materials, which are still the most used materials in the world, like concrete, which is only 8% of CO2 in the world comes from concrete. And still it's the most used material. And I just want to show you this image, and, as an example, this is hempcrete. So hempcrete comes practically from cannabis. And it's the most amazing natural organic material, which has the best temperature regulation. It cuts energy costs by 50%, and it absorbs CO2. So by doing all these things, I think it's also a beautiful, building element. It's not it's not a structural element, so it cannot replace like structure that you still need to have steel, wood, or concrete. And steel and wood, would be better alternatives than concrete. But it just shows the variety and what we are able to do. So I find in all my research with my team, we always look what is there that where we can make positive change in the world in this field of that we are occupying. And I think we have to, have the process to understand that materials are not passive. It has to do with human health, environmental impact. And I gave several talks called really Material Wellness, where I was showing the toxicity of materials, and the problem that exists is everything that's not visible, we are not afraid of. And it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's still there. So this is something that has to be, first of all, understood. And then there's many solutions on alternative ways to build, to design, and, to live with the built environment. What I find very interesting is there are more and more people from all over the world, be it, companies, industry, but also artists, who are coming up with the most amazing materials. And that brings a bit back to my passion for materials and the library we established over 20 years now, when nobody really cared about materials so much, sustainable materials. Just, again, a visual to show you the orange one. It's a skin from oranges in Sicily. It's a vegan leather. These materials are either from coffee waste, from olive pits, from lavender, and this one here on the top, the acoustic tiles, they are mycelium, which is the root of fungus. So it's an extremely exciting time. I think that we have access to, using waste products in a very innovative way in design and architecture, and where we can replace a lot of the established, materials or traditional that we are kind of used to. these are just few of the many hundreds of examples of material that absorb CO2 that are coming from apple, the skin of apple. Organoid has real lavender in it. And I mean, if you have a wall with this, you kind of sense lavender. And the right one is one of many, many alternatives to concrete. And for me, the importance is that it's not just a logical, rational decision. It's like, when organic food started, we didn't want to eat organic food because it's healthy only, but also it has to taste good. So it has to have both components. And I think it's the same thing when you look into design and architecture. It's not just that logically you decide for these materials, but they are beautiful. And this is what I, what I really want to show. And in the research we do. So you have air pollution types with moss. They take the air pollution out of the environment. You have bioactive wall elements which go into architecture with irrigation systems, very intelligent systems that you can look. So I think there's, for me, there's a blind spot in modern architecture and contemporary, where the part of the human, the human-centric design and the human health aspect needs to be absolutely addressed. And, I always say that what is good for the planet is also good for human beings. And so when we see all the greenwashing, everything that's happening in the world, and unfortunately still today, we have to understand that it's not just against it, bad for the environment or the world we leave for our children, but also for our own health. And, I come to the subject of longevity in a second. So these images are just to show you, like, it's invisible. The VOCs, all these gases that are surrounding. Not many people know that most wood has formaldehyde, which is one of the biggest cancer agents in the world. So, you can have, especially when you have these lacquered surfaces, which is a lot in the, in the luxury yacht industry, they all have formaldehyde. They're all extremely bad to breathe in. And they do have fumes that come out. It's just not visible to our eye, but it's still there. And then obviously one of the big subjects that we know about is the microplastics. We all know how countries are being dumped with plastic waste from Western countries to Thailand, to Bali, and all over the world. And it is a problem because plastic doesn't just dissolve itself. So what are the alternatives? Because I don't like to make a gloomy picture of what the world looks like. We have always solutions, but we have to, we have to use them. We have to be active and not passive. And this is again just an example of like, hempcrete environments where it's breathing. It's almost like being in nature when you are in. I mean, it's something I cannot portray on a video, but anybody who has ever been in a building built with hempcrete thinks you're outside in nature. It's quite mind-blowing how it changes the perception of materials. Just on the touch of plastic, at a local scale, I mean, we hear about it a lot, unless you see it myself, and I've been to places to really see these images that I'm showing. It's quite disturbing. And that is one of the biggest problem. And the other, like I said, it's concrete. And when you look into, history of how, I mean, modern history, let's say, this is, I think in Montreal, this concrete building, very famous, but even in contemporary Swiss villas, where they always use concrete, but they don't see that concrete has still these fumes that are coming out of it, which is more allergies of children today. And nobody knows why really it's happening. And this is one of the reasons. So what can we do with recycle plastic? We can recycle it. We can reuse it in architecture and design. So the fact is to show this is all 3D printed from big robots in Germany outside Nuremberg. So I was working with this company to show them what we can do, and this was at Design Miami in Art Basel, to show we can really use plastic waste and make it into beautiful design. And this is only an artistic example, but we can build with it. We can build pavilions with it. We can build, interiors with it in any color, any structure, a structural surface. And on the right, it's mycelium. It's to show that we're still a bit further away to have mycelium to be able to use as a building product. It's a it's a fungus that kind of grows where you start the growing process. But there are more and more people in the world and artists. It started with artists, but now there are also companies dedicating and getting funding all over the world to make it a really alternative for concrete and for other building
Hey,
materials.
Yasmine, one of our
Yeah.
Vine members actually did a partnership, I think, with Gibson Guitar Company, and they made a guitar out of mycelium, and skateboards and all kinds of, he's in the Vine. I
Oh,
did
that's
introduce you, Kenny. Yeah. So it's
interesting.
quite interesting. I didn't realize what could be done with mushrooms.
Yes, and Stella McCartney did also a bag with mycelium already a
Yeah,
few years. So
really cool.
there's a lot that you can really start doing. The other thing that I find very exciting is, people are scared of robots and taking over the world and AI and all this. But what has already been happening is like parametric design and robotic fabrication in terms of having less waste. The traditional way we build still today, there's so much waste left over in construction sites and design and everything. And when it's done in a thoughtful way, and also, I think the exploration of using also these new materials, this organic waste, which is not yet there, but to get it also into 3D printing and robotic fabrication is a bit like a glimpse of what the future could look like. And parametric design is also in terms of optimizing geometry. So practically you give parameters. It's a bit like quantum, computing, and you can create shapes that you cannot do in traditional buildings. So it gives you a wider variety of form and space to do architecture and design. And the robots, I was in Denmark over Easter, and there was a project, the biggest, I think, student housing in the world, 36 buildings, all built with a robot. And it was it was actually 3D printed. It was quite fascinated to see it. So I think, technology is very important, but it's still very important that we use the right materials. Now, what happened is also that 3D printing does happen with concrete, which on one hand is good. It's less, it's definitely less concrete than when you do traditional, but it's still not the right material. This is just, again, I like to share some images because some people say, what is mycelium? And it's literally, the root of fungus. So this is the part below the mushrooms that we know. And then on the right, you see how you can create acoustic tiles from it suddenly that are like, designer tiles, which makes really a metamorphosis. So these materials can restore our ecosystem and be one, there's many things we need to do, but they're one of the ideas of, reducing CO2 in the environment. And the most important is that to understand that, like I said before, they're really also beautiful. The acoustics on the right, it's a company in Italy who are working with big projects right now, doing this amazing acoustics, and everything is done with mycelium and bio-waste. And then you have hemp fabric, also not just hempcrete, but you have fantastic fabric, which is like also extremely, soft. It's also used in fashion. And then you have many other natural materials like cork, which you can also design 3D. And Spain and Portugal are very famous for them. Yeah, so I'm kind of done with my just going
Oh,
through the slides and just
just in
giving.
time, because we were just about to go on to Annabelle, so perfectly. Timing is impeccable, Yasmine.
So yes, for me, it's longevity has to do with material wellness. You've been to Davos at all these events, and one of the things that is definitely increasing is the desire for longevity, health span, and also lifespan. But it only goes together. And I think what is important with all the biohacking and all the things that people are doing in the world today is to understand we have to eliminate also factors that could reduce our health and our lifetime. And I think everybody from their profession, this is my profession, this is my passion. So I'm trying to educate, and I'm trying to my mission is kind of to see if we can change the way we build by replacing harmful building materials by organic, healthy ones, and have a little dent on the world and the future of the world.
Thank you, Yasmin. That was an incredible presentation, and really appreciate you sharing it with us. And we'll go to a breakout room so you guys can visit with her at the end of this call. I'd now like to welcome Anabel Ternès. Anabel, are you with us?
Yes, yes, yes. If you want, we
Okay.
can move ahead.
Yes. Okay, great. Okay, so here's Annabelle, guys. So I'll give a little quick description of her. So Annabelle is a visionary futurist, sustainability leader, and tech innovator recognized, and I'm going to butcher all of this German, Handelsblatt, as one of Germany's most outstanding managers and entrepreneurs. She is the CEO of SRH Institute for Innovation and Sustainability Management and Sustain Plus, where she pioneers ESG-driven AI solutions, media platforms initiatives, and mental health initiatives. With a background that includes senior leadership roles at LVMH, Annabelle is a serial impact entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, best-selling author, LinkedIn top voice. She serves as president of the president of Club of Budapest, is a board member of Muhammad Yudis, Friends of Social Business, and advises organizations including the UN and the Club of Rome. So thank you so much, Annabelle, for joining us today. It's great to see you. And you're in
Thank
New
you.
York City.
I can start just telling a little bit from my background, which gives maybe also a good idea on why my perspective on the German culture is maybe differs a little bit from others. Thank you for introducing me, Ada. I haven't prepared such a nice presentation as you, Jasmine. I will do it just verbally. My family is a bit cosmopolitan. My mother escaped from Romania, but she's Dutch French. She's French Hungarian, sorry, from her family. And we have a long history, not a German history, but coming to Germany meant for my family that they were quite thankful after being tortured in Romania, because my family is a Catholic Jewish family from that side. And two of my uncles, which were Catholic bishops, got tortured in Russia, went to prison, and so the rest of my family had to escape. So coming to Germany was for this part of my family something where they had a deep look, of course, on the heritage Germany has to offer. And interestingly, Germany is, on the one hand, very open for and very much engaged in sustainability, as Jasmine said so far. And I think Jasmine and I, we're two of the quite better known figures in Germany for sustainability in different fields. And we both are also some which are engaged, especially in the social part of sustainability, which means that the human comes at first, that if we don't look at the human, don't look at the culture of the humans, we can't really love sustainability, because it has to be embedded into the roots of that way of daily living, has to be embedded of our traditions, of our behavior. Otherwise, sustainability is just a cherry on the cake and won't be really embedded. Why I'm saying this? I'm saying this because if we look at the times of, for example, 70s, where in Germany it was not really possible for a woman to have a contract, to finalize a contract on her own. She had to ask her father, or she had to ask her husband. Same with getting a job. So there is a huge women movement, which is part of the German culture. And still, I think we are not there where we should be. As this is something some parties are really trying to force, just as SPD, but some other parties not. So we have, I think, in Germany, a big gap. On the one hand, we have this patriarchal side, which we often also face in family offices or family companies, where women also being strong, having a lot of potential, aren't seen or don't have the chance to get the CEO in a company and stay in a board, advisory board or so. On the other hand, we have really forward-thinking women, strong women, often also CEOs and NGOs. And I mean, if we look, for example, at the Fridays for Future movement, we see that there have been a lot of young women moving forward. So we have in Germany, I think, really these two sides, which are very strong. On the one hand, culture, which is proven by new ideas, sustainability, more left party oriented. And on the other hand, we have this more conservative part, which is often also combined with a kind of bourgeois behavior and this industry thinking, where the woman can stay at home because they're earning enough money, which is also more the Western side. Interesting as my father was a diplomat and Cold War, and he was more communist socialistic than ever. He is a Dutch, and coming to Germany made him feeling that he has to stay separate with his meaning, but could say out loud what he thought. So we got into some conflicts with that, so that we had to stay a little bit away. I was born in Bonn because of the political involvement of my father, and then I had to move to Emsland, which was also a huge culture gap. And this is another thing. It is not just this modern and old. It's not this family offices or family companies and startups. We have also the gaps from rural areas and cities. Of course, I mean, this is not just Germany oriented. We have there a very conservative part, but also a lot of deep combined feeling to the nature. And what Yasmine just said about the mushrooms, we have there also a lot of startups which are very much forward thinking about hemp, for example, what you can do with this as the new material, about bamboo, for example, but also doing research on mushrooms, how they're talking with each other, how you can use this material for special materials, which doesn't need to be stable, but can fade away after a time. So what we see from Germany, or from Germany's culture, is sometimes really a bit this what is really from heritage, where we have this philharmony, where we have this classical music, where we have these old painters. But on the other hand, we have a huge, strong new culture, which is often very much visible in the big cities, just as Berlin, for example. I by myself, I studied psychology, but also history of arts, product design, business administration, a few further things, counting this in some advisory boards where I try to combine also lines, where I try to combine to see culture from more holistic approach. Because what I've seen often in education in Germany is that culture is seen very much from a very small perspective. Widen the perspective is something which is very important for Germany, even and especially as in some of the big cities, the population with migration background is 25%, although, and in some schools or some classes, it's nearly 70%, where it's more important than ever to define the phrase culture in a really wide way. Germany sometimes tries to invite everybody, just as also when we talk about celebration days. For example, during Ramadan, in some cities in Germany, they made festive lighting in the cities to celebrate Ramadan. And discussed also if during this time, if kids want to stay at home, they could stay at home because of being friendly to other cultures. Germany, even if it's that discussed, has some really hard lines and poles that which is sometimes hard to combine. Discussion on the one hand about why it should be a must that a woman which wears a scarf is needed in public television, and on the other hand, people who fight against that and name it something which is an Islamization of Germany, is something where Germany as a country with the Second World War as a history, where people with disabilities or from other countries were treated as something minor, something which is big under discussion. And you often have the feeling that some people in Germany are still searching for the culture or the identity of Germany, which is since the Second World War also something which is discussed. You see in the past, or often it's discussed, that the football, for example, is something where the people are only proud of Germany and the Germans' culture and show it with flags. But if we look deeper into it, German has a lot to offer. If we look into the culture, we see deep roots not only in the arts, deep roots not only in architecture or design, but we see them also in religion, for example, in health practices. People who developed health practices in the very past, which is an understanding of a culture of seeing not only the body but also the soul, offering an approach for people, which is not only fostering a culture of seeing the history, but also staying in the moment and taking a look back on that, what we call the inner soul or spirituality. But spirituality is in the Germany highly discussed. Some countries, it has a place in the culture. In Germany, it's sometimes a bit hard and it's seen very judged. So it's interesting because coming from a family where religion meant a lot, where culture means a lot, where in our house, for example, we have places with crosses, we have places where crosses are decorated, and this is part of the family's culture. We have a Bible since the 16th family, which is part of us. And I had to face it on the hard way that in Germany, it's not a culture of female entrepreneurship, to be honest. We have a total 12% of female entrepreneurship. And if we look at this, most of the women have a migration background, which are successful in this field. Looking at this, you can understand it, of course, quite well from the East-West, from the industrial thinking, from this kind of bourgeois thinking of women can stay at home. But there is a lot potential and there's a lot possible. So first, I find that it's a role model to help others. And interestingly, Uli talked about his past and about that he took over and he's the fifth generation. My family mother's side comes from a big, they were company owner, one of the biggest company owners in Romania. But when my grandmother escaped, she started cleaning and she built a real estate company on her own. But when my father died, my mother sold it without asking me, without even thinking about asking me. I went to talk to her later after this period of being wounded because of his death, because he was shot to death. And getting over it, she said, Anabel, there was not even a second where I thought that you as a woman can take over, because women are not seen in our family as they are standing there to be the CEO and to be visible. And I still have, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and some of my companies went well, some not. But this is not that what my mother is interested in or my family. So still it is like this, oh, do
Hey,
you
Annabelle?
really need
Hey, Annabelle?
from the old pattern, it has to be perfect, yeah?
You're
Yes.
cutting out a little bit. I think
Oh,
you're coming in and out for some
oh,
reason.
that's bad.
But no, yeah, it's okay. We're still hearing you, but we have to go into the breakout room actually
Okay,
now.
okay.
So, but it was getting really good, but then we're running out of time, which is
Yeah, that's fine.
fortunate.
That's
No,
fine.
this conversation is amazing, but I'd like you guys to continue with Annabelle in the room, and then I'm going to go ahead and open the breakout rooms and assign you guys to rooms. So we're going to go ahead and jump into these rooms. So I'll get you guys set up now.